Someone's got to do it. Okay, so this guy SamDoesArts has been getting a little bit too comfortable out there. I mean, what kind of name is SamDoesArts? Like, can someone get this guy Grammarly? Ridiculous. Okay guys, so I've been wanting to do this for a long time. Gonna be roasting SamDoesArts today. Should be a good time. As always though, we're gonna try to keep the roast relatively gentle. Remember to be kind to yourself. At the date of recording this video, it is April 30th, 2021. And some of the recent pieces on this page, I think looks pretty good, you know, in terms of stylization, rendering, colors, nothing that I can really complain about here. Obviously, there's always room for improvement, but looks pretty good. But that's about all the compliments Sam's gonna be getting from us today. Thing is, when you're practicing how to draw, it's very hard to notice things that you would do drastically differently from a week ago or a month ago or even like 2-3 months ago. So a lot of the issues that we're gonna find are probably gonna be from 4, 5, 6, or 7 months back, and the recent pieces are mostly gonna be safe from our wrath. So let's scroll down and see what kind of absolute abominations we're gonna find. Okay, so we found our first victim, and this one is from December 29th, 2020. This is from roughly, I was not good at math, guys. This is from 4 months ago. So the skin rendering is okay. There's a good hint of blue and different kind of tones in the skin to convey the feeling of ambient lighting, but we've got some things that I think I would do it a little bit differently. So I pulled this up in Photoshop and I'm gonna show you guys what I'm talking about, okay? The one thing that's really bugging me about this is the way the folds in the clothing is treated. So if you look down here, even over there, you don't really get a sense of the structure of the folding in the fabric. The way it was rendered here is just not very convincing. Something else that I want you guys to take note of is the hair. Funny coincidence, because we're doing a hair tutorial on Patreon for the month of May. In that area right there, and also right there, what I think is missing here is a strong silhouette. So with the lack of confidence in the clothing folds, you could just add in some sharp shapes and shadows. Obviously, I don't have a reference photo here, but I can still kind of infer how that clothing is going to behave. I think one of the biggest things that bothers me about a lot of these older pieces is the lack of clarity and confidence. And again, that's something that's going to come with a lot of practice and a lot of time. So it's not really something you can rush, but it's definitely something you're going to notice as you get more comfortable with your subjects. Now, something else I talked about is the silhouette of the hair. And I think what's lacking here is a little bit of an illusion of detail. And we can achieve this by just simply adding some little hair strands on the outside that make it look as though there's a little bit more happening than what's actually being rendered. I mean, even on the other side right there, you could just add a little stray strand. Just makes it a little bit more interesting to look at. You know, we want to provide the illusion of detail without actually putting down too much detail because we're lazy. That's the edit. Minor changes, but to me it makes a big difference. I actually really like this one. I don't know if there's anything I change about that, honestly. This one's great too. You know, it's like got some Spirited Away vibes. Okay. December 13th, 2020. What are you doing? I'm bottom right. Yeah, you know what? I'm bottom right now after seeing this. So some of you guys might be like, oh, it's good. No, it's not. The main problem here is there's a lack of confidence in the shapes. There's a lack of strong, identifiable shapes. And look at the silhouette of this hair. What really is going on here? What is happening in this section? That is ridiculous. Even looking at the sides here, what is this? Somebody tell me, what is that? What are all those shapes? So if I were to go into this now, I'd actually simplify all of that. You know, just take out all of these, right? Come down here and go with a curve that comes back in. And this process not only simplifies what you have to draw, it also makes the shape of the character a lot more iconic. When you're looking at it, you recognize what you're looking at, who you're looking at. Same thing for over here. What is this bump? Why is that there? It doesn't have to be there. You could just go down like that. It's just that lack of confidence. It's killing me. That's really the main point here, but something else that really annoys me is look at all of that. Look at all of these lines. Look at how many lines are on the eyebrows. That is completely unnecessary, and it affects the clarity of the expressions in a negative way when you have a lot of conflicting lines trying to say the same thing. You know, instead of using 10 different lines for that one single eyelid, just use one tick one. Tick boy. You know, one tick boy. 0 out of 10, highly disappointing. My day is ruined. Okay, so I scrolled down a little bit. Now we're back in November 9th, 2020. You know, I like this. There's a problem though. Pulling it up in Photoshop once again so I can demonstrate what I'm talking about while desecrating the old piece. So one thing is, I think the hair is really poorly rendered. I'm getting these dark streaks, which is not a bad thing. They cut into the hair and they kind of create that three-dimensional look to the form of the hair, but there is not enough of them and they're not placed in a strategic way. And same thing with what we talked about with the silhouette before. Like if you look on this side, I'm getting one strand there, another one there, and another one there. I mean, this piece doesn't even flow. It's looking so stiff. You know, you could definitely go in and bump that up a little bit and just exaggerate it a little bit more. And then something else on top of this is the highlights on the hair. So I use this rake brush for the texture on the highlights, but the strokes are not very elegant. You know, they're just kind of going in all kinds of different directions. Nowadays, if I were to use this brush, I would actually have it follow the direction of the hair, so there's a little bit more flow to it. With the edit, some very, very small minor changes, but it makes a big difference to the way this painting looks. Don't even get me started on this piece. The clouds here look so two-dimensional. I don't know if there was a reference that was used for this or if it was just straight from the imagination. It's looking like it might have been from the imagination. Okay, so perfect example of the same thing that I talked about with confidence in the lines. You know, like why use 5 lines when 1 line does trick? So we're zooming in here and look at the top eyelid. There's just unnecessary information there. Things are not clear. It really bugs me when things aren't clear, but probably due to a lack of confidence back then again. And I think Bruce's head is way too like large vertically, looking like a human baby there. This is a pretty good environment piece, but the problem here is look at the lines on the ceiling. They're kind of janky and all over the place. If I were to do that now, I would actually just use a completely straight line instead of trying to hand draw it. Oh, this one. This is still one of my favorite pieces. The hand's really nicely simplified, face is nicely stylized, but some of these textures I find a little bit distracting. So again, the thing here is clarity, you know, the confidence in the lines. We can maintain the same art style without all the extra fluff. I can go in with the same brush that I used for the line art, and I can use one single, if I can draw it correctly, one single confident line for the jaw. A sense of clarity while maintaining the art style. But you see what I'm talking about is just like there's a lot of extra things going on that don't really need to be there. Really unnecessary. Like look at this cut in the shadow, like that should not be there. It should be like a soft fade. So if you look at the original and you look at some of the changes I've made, I'm really just streamlining, simplifying while maintaining that same art style, but I'm really taking out the lines that don't need to be there. You can see there's so much more clarity in the expression, in the face. It's pretty good actually. I should go back into this piece. I actually really like this one. So I think we have a problem here. I've been liking almost all of the environment pieces, but not the portrait pieces. So what this means is my skill level with environments from 4 or 5 months ago is still adequate to me today. That actually indicates to me that I haven't improved as much in the field of environments as I have in portraits. So it might be time for me to change it up a little bit and make environment practices more of a regular thing now too, because this is from half a year ago. So if I was able to spot so many issues with the portraits I was doing from that time, the fact that I'm not able to spot all these issues with the environments I was doing from that time means there hasn't been that much growth. Gonna be doing more environment practices now. We cannot fall behind. I remember this one. Okay, I think there's a little bit of a problem with the anatomy. Even though it is stylized, you still have to adhere to the basic anatomies of the human head. The mouth here looks as though it is being viewed from a 3/4 angle, while the face is actually almost in a front view. So it looks a little bit awkward there. You know, like just straighten it out a little bit. structure of the nose is a little bit unclear there as well. I would probably try to add a hint of a nose ridge. Could be just a very faint line there. So I made some edits to the eyes and the nose, but the most important thing is the mouth. Before the edit, it was like a 3/4 angle. After the edit, it's more facing the front. It just ties it all together, and the face I think makes a little bit more sense now. Even though it is super stylized, you can still maintain the proper anatomy of the human head while you're trying to stylize your characters. I think that's very important to creating a believable stylization for your characters. Okay, and as we scroll past this point, we're entering the territory of some very gnarly stuff. So brace yourselves. Up. Not like this. The thing with painting characters outdoors is there's always going to be ambient lighting from the sky, whether it's overcast or it's a sunny day. And on the skin here, there doesn't appear to be a whole lot of ambient lighting, you know, like aside from some of the highlights, but there would be a lot more blue if a character was standing under the sky. No, I actually kind of like this one. So you see the problem here? This is from July and I'm still happy with it. I work on my environments. This one's actually really good, even though the stylistic proportions aren't exactly what I would do now. I still think there's some very good redeeming elements here because there's a lot of very strong shapes, you know, looking at the hair, looking at the clothing. But what is going on with the neck? That needs to be pushed back because it is not sitting directly under the skull. Come on, come on. Come on, Sam. Okay, and this is absolutely ridiculous. Goodness Lord, someone help this man. So can you guys spot the problem here? I'll give you guys 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1, no, you didn't spot the problem. So the problem is the neck, okay? The neck attaches to the spine and it goes straight down your back. So following the center line of the body, the spine would be about there. And this is where the center of the neck should be. You know, if I were to edit this piece, I would actually have to bring that shoulder all the way out or bring this one all the way in. So something's got to change with the center line of the body. Undo, redo, undo, redo. You see what I'm talking about? Like, it's such a simple anatomical thing, but even if you're stylizing your characters, you're giving them cartoonish proportions, you still have to adhere to basic anatomy. Absolutely ridiculous. And I don't know why the eyes are so close together. You know, like, just reel that in a little bit. Makes the character look a little bit more human, you know? So much more expressiveness. What in the world? Why is her head so big? Why is she dark purple? Why is her neck like that? This is from June 2020, so it's almost a year ago, and this really pains me. Really, really does. And then as we go all the way back, we're getting a lot more realistic looking portraits where I was studying the anatomy of the face and how to render it effectively and trying to stylize a little bit as I go. And then as we go all the way down, dear Lord have mercy on me. See, the problem with a lot of these pieces is, like, if you look at the colors, there's so much gray, there's so much muddiness. You know, it doesn't feel alive. There's not that much harmony going on with the skin tones and too much rendering on the hair. It's not that elegant. Look at the amount of detail on that rendering. Like, it's good, you know, I could do that today still, but I would just rather not. You know, it takes so much time. Like, let your audience's brains fill in the missing information for you. This is my first Draw This in Your Style challenge from May 6th, 2020. This was a year ago. SamDoesArts 15K. How crazy is that? I think that's pretty good. I think that was a good amount of roasting. Hope I didn't hurt this guy's feelings. Okay, so we've just completely ended the career of SamDoesArts. I'm happy about that. But in all seriousness, guys, I hope you guys were able to take something away from this video. I hope some of these tips were valuable to you. And I just want to say, I don't actually hate any of the work that I did before. I actually really appreciate looking back and seeing how far I've come. You know, none of these pieces are like trash to me. I think there are redeeming qualities about all of these pieces. So if you guys are looking back on your own work, make sure you're being nice to yourself because you deserve it for how far you've come. But screw this guy. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to do so for more digital art content just like this. And if you guys actually want to see me try to repaint one of these pieces that we covered today, I'd be happy to do it for you guys and see how differently it would turn out. But you know what? Let me know in the comments if you want to see that. I kind of want to do that. Other than that, I'll see you guys on the next video. Here, a tutorial on my Patreon for the month of May, guys. I'm glad we were able to do this. You know, I hurt myself before Ethan Becker can hurt me. Big brain. I think, yeah, big brain move right there. Huge brain, massive brain. We're almost at 1 million.